Hello everybody, this is Super MC Gamer, your host and professor here on Hyrule Academy, which does air every single Friday right here on Radio Hyrule at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. I'm glad to see we have plenty of chatters inside the classroom tonight, ready here to talk all about The Legend of Zelda, its lore and fan theories, as well as listen to some great music. And to speak of great music, we just heard a Journey Through Hyrule, which was a final project done from an orchestration class done by Kyle Martin, and that was requested by Ziggy22 over on my Twitter. So thank you very much for that request. You can tell definitely it's a very digitalized, very MIDI-full orchestration, but you can also tell where they wanted to go with that piece, and that's why I really wanted to play it. I'd love to hear that one day be played by a live orchestra. That'd be really cool. And of course, it had a really great arrangement of the Skyward Sword theme, Ballad of the Goddess. So I really liked it. Even if you can tell it was digitized, you can tell where it wanted to go, and that's what I like to hear, is the heart rather than the sound. Although the sound is good too. Anyways, today we're gonna have a very wonderful subject on our hands, my friends inside the classroom. We're gonna be talking all about the geography of Hyrule. Today we're gonna push away the history books and bring out the atlas, as it were. We're gonna be talking all about the geography of Hyrule. So a quick backstory. In many games, Hyrule has different appearances, but however, there's some things that stay the same between the different games. And so you see a lot of times we have the same rivers, we see mountains, grasslands, icelands, and of course there are castles and ruins that are in different places. And it's very important that we talk about those, because they are very essential to the Zelda lore that a lot of people really don't necessarily remember. So I hope that you all have your Hyrule atlases out. Do some Googling if you don't, because I will be asking you guys a few questions here and asking for your discussions, and I'll be watching them inside the chat room and posting the best messages later on inside the show. But yeah, there's a lot of similarities between some of the games. There's some games that the map seems almost the same, and it's really interesting to me. And so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking a more fine look at some of the similarities between some of the game's maps and what makes them so similar, and maybe form some theories about how they came to be that way. Second, I want to pose a few questions to you guys. I would like for you guys to answer these. Do you think the world is the same between all the games? Other than obvious transitions like Hyrule and New Hyrule? Are we seeing the same area? If not, what's happening? Let me know. What landmarks do we have to follow? What are some consistent things in the Zelda universe that we like to look for and that help us really track the history of the land? And the last thing I want to ask you is what games share the same world, and how can you tell? Tell me about Death Mountain, its location, and other things such as that. So go ahead and answer those questions over on inside the chat at radiohyrule.com/chatroom, and we will feature those messages later on inside the show. I will be keeping an eye out there. But for now, it is time to get right back into the music. I have a show that's entirely requests from you guys. So thank you very much to everybody who contributed to these requests. And if you want to possibly get in on the requests for the next time I do a request show, please follow me on Twitter. I am at SuperMCGamer. Anyways, let's get on with the music. I hope you enjoy. I'll be back in just a few. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule. I hope you guys had a wonderful time listening to that music that was picked for you, not by me tonight, but instead by our wonderful Hyrule Academy Radio Hyrule family. And so let me recap what you've been listening to, just so you have it nice inside your brains in case you want to go look it up. First up, we listened to Song of Storms by Glitch X City, and that was requested by Helios2424 over on Twitter. So thank you very much. It was a very chill electronic version of Song of Storms. A lot of times with Zelda music, you get the people who are really into the Fixie, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm not fussy, but it's good. It's fine. It's wonderful. But they get too hooked on that particular style of trying to remix things, and you don't get the chill stuff. You don't get the alternative stuff. You just get straight dubstep, and that it's good, but it's not always what you need. And so I was really happy to hear that remix from Glitch X City. After that, we heard the Wind Waker Ocean acapella from the one and only Smooth McGrew, and that was requested by Pythros. Thank you very much, Pythros. And after that, we heard Dungeons of Hyrule, which is, of course, from the Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses tour, and that was arranged by Chad Sider, and it was requested by our very own John McKay. So thank you very much for that request. A big fan of the Symphony of the Goddesses, to be sure. So, guys, I am very excited to get right back on into the discussions with you today. You inside the chat have been going at it. You've been going at it a lot. And today we're kind of talk about one thing very quickly here. We're going to talk about Death Mountain. It's a very easy thing because I'm still collecting your guys' opinion. You guys are still typing away over inside the chat. So right now I'm gonna take a quick sabbatical from the heavy discussion on tectonic plates that is apparently happening right now inside the chat room, and instead quickly talk about Death Mountain, which is actually one of the most consistent things. Captain Trina inside the chat agrees, saying especially is very consistent if we assume that Elden Volcano from Skyward Sword is indeed the Death Mountain that we see in Ocarina of Time, and later on we even see it in the Wind Waker in the form of Dragon Roost Island. Because inside the Wind Waker, it's very important to note, the islands you're on are the mountaintops of Hyrule, and one of the biggest, most clear to see is Dragon Roost Island, which is a big lava-filled volcano, and it's very consistent because there's not many other volcanoes in Zelda. Have we ever had a game where there have been 2 volcanoes? The only one I can think of is A Link Between Worlds, in fact, where there are 2 volcanoes that erupt fairly early on inside the game, but you can't go inside them. They're tiny volcanoes. We're talking about big, huge, Elden, Goron-filled Death Mountain volcanoes. And so I think it's pretty fair to say, and keep it right inside our minds, that for sure, and this is something that I think is very consistent, is that Death Mountain is very consistent through the games, and we can always assume that Elden Volcano is the same as Death Mountain and possibly the same as Dragon Roost Island. This is so much, it's theory, but it's enough theory that we can call it fact. That's one thing we have to consider here on the show, is sometimes we have to kind of like say, okay, I'm going to concede that theory point. We could argue against it. You could come up with these ideas that perhaps it's actually not Death Mountain, it's not Elden Volcano, but it's going to be a hard thing to argue. It's just going to be a hard thing to find the correct answer to, or an alternative answer to. And so that's pretty much, pretty much we're going to put that one in the books as a confirmed theory. So inside the chat, I do have a few more questions for you guys. I'm right now, our discussions are kind of following, where we're talking a little bit about Lake Hylia and Lanayru. That's one thing we're hearing. I have a rebuttal to that. I heard a little bit of talk about the Master Sword's resting place, especially after Skyward Sword, and what would happen to it in the times to follow. And I also have been hearing you guys talking about tectonic plates and possibly the thought of Hyrule shifting over time, and also about forest teleportation. But we're going to get into that after another quick music break, because that is just way too much to talk about right now. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I hope you are having a wonderful evening, where we got a lot more discussions coming up here after this short music break. We got a big, huge discussion segment, so get your messages in over at radiohyrule.com/chatroom, and I will be in the chat reading way. But for now, it is time for some more music and some more requests from you guys, the audience. I hope you guys enjoy. And welcome back to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule. I hope you are having a wonderful time. I am MC, and I hope you are doing well, because I'm doing well. I have a lot of things to go over. You guys have been chatting away inside the chat room and talking all about some very exciting things, and I will get to them right after we recap what we've been listening to, my friend. So what were we listening to? First off, we heard Farewell Hyrule King from Zelda Reorchestrated, and that was requested by Jack of All Nations. So thank you, Jack, very much for that wonderful request. I love the Farewell Hyrule King song, and I've gone in search of remixes, actually, of it today. I went in search of trying to find a really cool remix to bring to you guys in hopes that you would really enjoy it. But you know, it's weird. There's only like 1 or 2 guitar covers out there, and the rest are just piano covers. And while it's a piano song, I like to hear alternative things. So if you're a musician who's having to listen to my show because you're cool, give it a shot. You know, it's a good song. It's a good song that deserves some jazzy remixes. It deserves some web-steppy remixes. It deserves a whole plethora of different style remixes. Give us some nice blues. Some nice blues, Farewell Hyrule King. I think that would do well. Anyways, after that we heard Temple from Super Smash Bros. Melee. Of course, that is the Hyrule Temple stage. The biggest stage that you only play on when you have 4 people. Otherwise, you'll be there for literally 3 hours trying to beat each other up. And that was requested by the Frosty. There's a second F in there, so it's the Frosty. It's a very, very good name. So that's what you guys have been listening to, and I hope you did enjoy those songs. I know I sure did. Now let's talk about what you guys have been saying inside the chat. You guys are still talking, and I'm sorry that whatever you're saying is not going to be on the show, but here's what I have. Here's what I have for you, my friends. First off, SS Dark C8. I don't know if you're supposed to abbreviate that name. I'm just going to call you Dark from here on out. Dark said, there's connections between Skyward Sword's Lanayru Desert and Lake Hylia. And Druin05 kind of expanded on that to an extent, saying that Lake Hylia is also in the Minish Cap, where it was the first game after Skyward Sword on the timeline. And so what he's saying is that the location where we see the Lanayru Desert is the same location where we see Lake Hylia, in theory, in the Minish Cap. And that's kind of like a good basis on kind of how the map will form. And of course, one thing we have to understand as we go into this, and I know I'm going to crush a lot of your dreams here, as fun as it is to talk about Zelda lore and stuff, you also have to keep in mind it is a video game. And that is one of those cases where we kind of take a step back and say, remember, it is a video game and they're trying to design a good game world, not necessarily a good lore world. So that keeping in that in mind, I do support this theory. I think that perhaps it was Lanayru's desert that regrew and reflourished. At one time, it was a vast ocean. It was a wonderful area. However, it dried out over the time when after Hylia had sealed away demise. So having it come back and them naming it, like call it Lake Hylia, like saying that this was the place that Hylia had blessed, like brought back to the world after the events of Skyward Sword. That seems like a very fair thing to do. And Nautilus says that, not sure if someone mentioned it, but the forest flooded in Skyward Sword. Where did the water go down? Or did that turn into the lake? The water did disappear in Skyward Sword, but where did it go? Did it go back to Lake Floria, which is nearby to the forest? That's the most likely option. However, we don't really see Lake Floria inside future games. Do we ever hear the name Floria in any future Zelda games? Or timeline-wise, we do not, because Lake Floria was first introduced inside Skyward Sword, which was the latest 3D released Zelda game. So perhaps they were just trying to make a new name, or perhaps they were saying that this was once a place that had been destroyed and the water went somewhere else. Perhaps that water helped give nutrients to the land of Lanayru that helped it one day turn back into a nice sprawling lake. It's a very possible thing. It's something to keep in our mind. So good theories, very good stuff there on the subject of Lake Floria. And perhaps Pharaon, the dragon water spirit, also was involved in it somehow. But I'll leave that theory for another day. Then we had Druin come back and he says, the Temple of Hylia, as we know, turned into the sealed temple, which we saw inside Skyward Sword. And then it became the Temple of Time, where the Master Sword rested. This is a confirmed fact by the Historia that said that Gapora and his descendants, eventually leading on to Rauru, built up this temple around the Master Sword, and it became the new Temple of Time. This is, I believe, confirmed fact. Maybe it is just me having so much faith in this theory that I'm saying it's confirmed fact. But no, this became the Temple of Time. And perhaps over time, after the events of Ocarina of Time, leading into Twilight Princess, we're going to go down the child timeline. Perhaps it decayed. Perhaps as Castle Town moved, because as you see, there was a new Castle Town between Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess. As they moved to a new Castle Town, they built a new castle for the royal family. Perhaps the old one got taken down, and it became the Sacred Grove, which we see inside Twilight Princess. That's a very fair theory, and a fair something that I put a lot of faith in. I could definitely see it, because I like to think the point where the Master Sword rests is a concrete position, and perhaps between Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past, it had that same effect. Perhaps the war had the imprisoning war had taken out the Temple of Time, and it rests inside this forest, this area where the shrubberies have grown up again, back from when it used to be part of the Faron Woods. It's all very strong theories, very good stuff. Now we're going to head into a little bit of a deeper theory. A wild Abra, who of course we will be seeing next week, or not next week, a bit over a week from now at Zeldathon. He'll be coming on over to the area where I'm at, and he will be attending that. He says, it could be that Hyrule has rapidly shifting tectonic plates, making familiar landmasses move quickly. Albeit instead of thousands of years, it only takes a few generations. And while that's a good theory, Nautilus responds with, I don't think that the tectonic plate theory works. The land would be more separated, I think. I don't support the tectonic plate theory. Like it's just like these puzzle pieces that are rearranging like a slide puzzle. I don't support that. I think that there are tectonic plates obviously in Hyrule, because that's how planets work. But I don't think that it's like a slide puzzle. Instead, because I'm kind of more feeling Nautilus saying the land would be more separated. But to play devil's advocate, there have been plenty of games where the land has been extremely separated. One thing that I think of very strongly is Twilight Princess. If you remember how the land had these huge chasms in it, that they had to build the Elden Bridge, for example, which is a very, very memorable piece because of not only its appearance inside Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but you have to restore it inside the game. There was huge bridges that you had to get to in that game because there was huge chasms that are separating the land. And so that's, I guess that's a strong theory, but it's the only time we really see it. Of course, inside the adult timeline, the land is flooded with water, so we never really get to see it. And the only difference is inside the Fallen Hero timeline, we don't really get to see much there because of something we're going to go into here in just a few moments. Anyways, Yasitaru has a theory that perhaps the forest moves over time. Perhaps it's part of the Lost Woods power. The Lost Woods is able to not only get you lost within it, but also get you lost in where the actual woods are, that over time, that perhaps these woods move, and they don't just like go whoop whoop and teleport. No, instead that they dry out, the plants die, and it starts growing inside another area over a period of time. And perhaps we don't see that. Perhaps we do, and we don't even realize it. Are there any games that don't have like a woods style area that perhaps, or like have a more run down woods area that we can think of? I don't have anything off the top of my head because I'm just kind of spouting nonsense right now, but there's that to keep in mind. Silver gives us a quick tidbit. Also shout out to Silver, who's been working on Zeldathon so much. Thank you very much to him. He says, the Minish Cap shares the same layout as Oracle Seasons. I like to point that out during Zeldathon. And we don't really need to go into this as like a discussion, but go look it up. Go look it up indeed. Now, one thing I want to finish up this discussion with is talking about the hero defeated timeline. Captain Trina says the Link defeated timeline is a bit of a mess, probably because the games are too old. And again, we have to go with that theory. We have to go with the theory that the games are too old. We can't really like they weren't thinking about the lore. They weren't thinking about that. They were thinking about making games, and we have to kind of keep that in mind. However, Yasitaru does say from the Historia that Link's adventure, an adventure of Link, does not take place in Hyrule alone, and his travels bring him to two vast continents. And that's one thing that is very apparent, and it's pretty much an officially confirmed thing. If you look at the map from Adventure of Link, you can see Hyrule from the first game, Zelda 1, in the lower left-hand corner of the map. And it's basically saying that not only does Link adventure there, but he also goes beyond, and he discovers new towns and new places. All these theories are very strong, very good stuff. The chat, you guys did a wonderful job at keeping the discussions going tonight. I'm really surprised how much we had. There's a lot I couldn't even go over. So thank you very much for those thoughts and discussions. They've been very welcome. And if you want to contribute to that, make sure you come on over to radiohyrule.com/chatroom. We will be doing a bit more discussion here inside the chat room, but that's going to be the end of the community discussion block here tonight. Anyway, this is Hyrule Academy on Radio Hyrule. Let's get back to some awesome music. And welcome Welcome back, my friends, to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule. I hope you've been enjoying your evening here inside the classroom. I hope you've learned some things and possibly also had some fun and enjoyed the music. We've had a lot of really great tunes played tonight, and I want to let you know what you've been listening to, because that last song, oh, wow, that was quite a doozy, if I do say so myself. It was quite intense, if I do say so myself. That was the Zelda Ocarina of Time medley. Excuse me, by Little V Mills, V as in Vati, and that was requested by Kuro Two Tails over on my Twitter. So thank you very much, Kuro Two Tails, for letting me turning me on to that song, because that was something I had not heard before, and I do enjoy a nice Zelda a hardcore rock remix. It was very good. I really very much enjoyed it. I was very intrigued by it. It was a nice 8-minute, 32-second song, so it took up our entire music block there, but it's okay. It was worth it. Do you guys agree? I agree. Of course I would agree, because I put it inside the thing, so who am I kidding? Anyways, guys, so time for a bit of a recap, if I do say so myself, all right? Let's recap what we've learned today. First of all, we can pretty much come to the general conclusion that Death Mountain is the great peacekeeper when it comes to Hyrule geography. It is the one thing that seems to be pretty darn consistent, that we don't have to worry about our fan theories. We can just say Death Mountain, that is the thing that is always existed. Elden Volcano, it just goes. It just goes and it lives. It's Death Mountain. And even though we may not see it in every game, we know it's there. Yes, the Lord Death Mountain, I see from the chat. Thank you very much. So yeah, shout outs to Death Mountain for being consistent, because that's what we value as fan theorists. We value consistency. It makes our job a lot easier. However, it does make our job a lot more interesting when there's inconsistencies, and we'll be getting into some inconsistencies here in a few moments. But anyways, one thing we also learned was that certain games have the same maps, but only some of the landmarks may remain. For example, we see some similarities between some games, and other games we see something like between Skyward Sword and Lake Hylia. We see that the Lanayru Desert possibly turns into Lake Hylia, because they are in possibly similar areas. There's the castle town. We see between Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time, we see the Master Sword's resting place in the Temple Time. It's a hard thing to really make work, because we have to remember, and this is the big thing, it's only a game. So we have to remember, it is only a game. So as it being only a game, we have to keep that in our minds. But we kind of find a lot of theories. We have a lot of really interesting stuff said today, and I'm really happy that we got that. It makes me extremely happy that we kind of come to these conclusions together as the Hyrule Academy family. Anyways, I want to thank you all this week for watching and tuning in here. Watching. I guess you're not really watching anything. But anyways, a reminder to tune in next week. Of course, at Friday, 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, right here on Radio Hyrule. Next week is the last week we'll be doing this before Zeldathon hits, so we're going to have to take a week or two break after next week. But next week, I was like, we need to do something big. We need to do something awesome. So next week, we'll be talking, quite simply, about Termina and why it is not the place where Link is dead. We're going there, folks, so get your hypes out. Get your hypes out, everybody. Get studying up. We're talking about Termina next week. So get studying. Get excited. Anyways, if you have been enjoying this show and you want to help out Radio Hyrule, which is a great network that has allowed me to do this show, go to radiohyrule.com/donate and give them a little bit of support, and in return, you get those fuzzy feelings and your name on a board with rupees or something. I haven't been to the page in a while. Anyways, if you want to email me at mc@supermcgamer.com. That's mc@supermcgamer.com with any requests you might have or ideas and things. So look forward to that. I see the chat's going absolutely ballistic about Termina, so it warms my heart to know that I can make you guys go crazy with the word Termina. And a reminder that Zeldathon Adventure is less than 2 weeks away. Zeldathon Adventure, which is my charity marathon that is raising money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We're going to be playing 6 days worth of Zelda games. We have every Zelda game there is, with the exception of Zelda Game & Watch, because I can't afford $150 here inside the next few weeks to buy that. But if I did, we would totally hook up a camera pointing at that tiny little LED screen, and we would have a blast. But alas, not this marathon. Maybe in the winter we'll see it. But we have a lot of cool stuff coming, and I will give you guys a little bit of spoilers. You will be seeing some Sanic Lost World, the Zelda Zone will be at Zeldathon. We're going to want to show off the Legend of Zelda Zone, but that will be on our 6th bonus day of the marathon. Anyways, thank you all for watching and listening. I keep saying watching. I gotta stop it. Thank you all for listening tonight, and thank you again for your inputs. You really make the show absolutely a privilege to host. And now, let's finish this off with one more song. This is requested by Stynus Murray, a very good friend of mine. This is Gerudo Valley, done by Taylor Davis. Enjoy the song, everybody. Everybody.